Sculp stepped into the grid, his boots striking the glowing floor with a hollow, rhythmic sound that echoed into the endless horizon. The environment was a vast, sprawling expanse of neon lines and shifting light, a realm that defied the laws of weight and texture. He stopped, the heavy iron hammer in his right hand, dragging his shoulder down, a stark contrast to the weightless geometry surrounding him. He looked up. The sky pulsated with rhythmic data streams, cold and indifferent. Here, he brought the chisel up, tracing the edge of a translucent geometric wall, his shadow stretching long and jagged across the illuminated grid. He was an anomaly in this infinite, polished space. He knelt, pressing his palm against the light, feeling for a fracture, a flaw, anything that could hold the weight of his craft. The isolation was absolute, yet he did not hesitate. He stood, gripped his hammer, and prepared to reshape the void. Sculp moved toward him, his boots marking the grid with every step. He set the block down at the base of the digital construct. It did not sink. It held its place, a singular point of mass in a world of projections. Ignoring the flickering edges of the tree above him, each blow chipped away at the silence. The stone began to take shape, forced into a new geometry by the sheer persistence of his labor. He was no longer just standing on the grid. He was carving his own truth into its core, one strike at a time. He reached out, pressing his palm against the rough stone. It held firm. He gathered his tools, the iron weight of the hammer feeling lighter in his grip than before. The grid was no longer a vast, untouchable mystery. It was a canvas, and he had learned the language of its transformation. The red rectangle floated in the void, a flat, defiant slab of code. Sculp stopped before it, feeling the way the digital surface resisted the weight of the rock. It was a friction he had come to expect. Each hit of the hammer drove the chisel with surgical accuracy. He was no longer fighting the material, he was commanding it, carving away the excess with devastating speed. He shaped the sandstone into a perfect cube, replaced by the heavy, grounding presence of the stone. He finished with a final, sharp tap that echoed with the resonance of a completed task. The cube stood solid, a permanent monument of mass embedded in the shifting light. Sculp stood back, his breathing steady, his hands already reaching for the next tool to continue the work. A flicker of light caught his attention, pulling him away from the geometric structures. Near the horizon line, rhythmic precision, shading away the excess to reveal the curvature of a jawline. The depth of an eye socket, the process was slower, more intimate. Every strike was a conversation. He worked until the features caught the ambient neon light. Sculp stood up, the stone bust left behind as a silent witness to his progress. He turned toward the horizon. He looked at his hands, calloused and stained with the gray dust of his labor, then back at the endless. A sudden tremor passed through the grid beneath his feet, a reminder that the world was still fluid. He gripped the handle of his hammer, his knuckles whitened, and he leaned into the wind that blew from nowhere, glowing distance, ready to carve until the grid itself succumbed to the weight of his resolve. The hesitation vanished. Sculp moved. He did not walk. He blurred across the grid, a kinetic force of dust and impact. Strike. Shift. Shift. A pillar erupted where a line of light had been seconds before, jagged geometry. He hit the ground running, his boots kicking up clouds of gray grit that hung in the static air. Left, right, forward. He carved a sphere, then a cube, then a spire, each piece of stone anchoring itself into the digital floor with a heavy, satisfying thud. The rhythm accelerated. He was no longer reacting to the world. He was dictating it. His hammer became a blur of motion. The neon light shattered, replaced by the cool, solid weight of reality. Monuments rose in his wake like sudden mountains. He spun, catching a flying shard of rock, and drove it into the grid with a final, booming strike. The ground shuddered. Behind him, the infinite horizon was no longer a flat, glowing line. It was a jagged, textured skyline of stone, rising higher and faster with every breath he took. The neon light began to flicker, a desperate, stuttering pulse that could no longer maintain its coherence, turning the ground translucent before hardening into solid rock. The grid fought back, lines of white light trying to weave through the sandstone, but they were smothered by the sheer volume of mass. Sculp was a whirlwind, his movements frantic and precise. He struck the surface, and a monolith erupted, tearing through the floor and piercing the digital sky. The air grew thick with the smell of pulverized stone. Massive geometric structures crowded the horizon, blocking out the artificial glow. The ground groaned, a low, tectonic rumble that vibrated through the soles of his boots. Where there had been empty space, there was now a dense, jagged forest of monuments. The neon floor cracked, spider-webbing into dark, shadowed fissures that widened with every passing second. The digital realm was dying, its liquid reality replaced by the cold, unyielding weight of stone. Sculp stood at the center of the chaos, hammer raised, while the horizon vanished beneath a towering, gray landscape that stretched as far as the eye could see. He took a breath, the sound harsh and dry in the heavy air. He raised the hammer. Across the horizon in jagged, neon streaks, the grid beneath his feet buckled, sending ripples through the stone monuments he had already raised. He did not look up. He focused on the center point of the stone. He swung. The impact was not a sound, but a physical weight that hammered into the very foundation of the world. A shockwave of pure, gray dust exploded outward, erasing the last of the digital flicker. The sky fractured like glass. Sheets of light peeled away, revealing a vast, hollow void for a single, breathless second. Then, the reformation began. The fractured light collapsed into the stone, binding itself to the grain and the edges of every monument. The screaming stopped. The ground leveled out, locking into a permanent, immovable state. The air grew still. Where there had been a frantic, shifting interface,
you'd have to be an expert to figure this one out. Mountain now looks an X from top. Why did sky get lit night today after carving a pyramid from it?
There was now only the cold, silent weight of a world reborn in solid stone. The transformation was complete. Only the steady, unmoving gray of stone remained. Sculp stood at the heart of the expanse, his hammer resting at his side, its iron head dull against the dust. The monuments stretched toward the horizon, a vast, silent forest of geometry that would never flicker or fade. He walked among them, his boots crunching against the grit of a world that had finally found its footing. There was no more code to rewrite. There was no more space to fill. He stopped before a tall, jagged pillar and placed a hand against the surface. It was cold, solid, and absolute. The air was clear, stripped of the static that had defined this place for so long. He looked out over the terrain, seeing the lines of his labor etched into the very foundations of the realm. A quiet calm settled over the landscape, a stillness that felt like a promise kept. The digital ghost of this place had been exorcised, replaced by the weight of history carved in rock. He took a final, steady breath, watching the light catch the edges of the stone.
I thought, why not? Change the color. Instead of using sandstone, use a redstone. Redstone, it had an incredible effect in this dimension. It created a red star in the sky. But stars, they move too slow across the sky. This red star moves fast, like a planet, like Mars.
Where the digital meets the stone, Sculp transformed the world alone. Every carve and every dust turns the holograms into what you can call real
And allowed himself a moment of rest. The work was done. Its feet was solid.
Toy airplane, eh? A little too early for that. Let's see if I can make a bird with wings.